Can you
Hi,
guys
this
please?
is Barbara Skowski.
Nope. Never mind. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. Thanks for the test.
Thank you. Okay.
Like the shirt.
It's the maze.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to call today's meeting for Monday, October 17th, 2022. The State of Nevada Board of Prison Commissioners to order. If I could ask the clerk to take the roll, please.
Governor Steve Sisolak,
Here.
Secretary of State Barbara Sagowski,
I'm here.
Attorney General Aaron Ford.
Here.
Governor, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you very much. Second item is public comment. This is the first time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any items that are on today's agenda. Only items that are on today's agenda. Please step forward, identify yourself for the record. And comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Let's start in Carson City. Do we have anybody for public comment?
Governor, this is Deputy Director Cuenga. There's no one in Carson City at this time for public comment.
Okay. Do we have anyone in Las Vegas for public comment on items on the agenda?
We do not have any. Yes.
Okay, come on up. What night item are you on?
I'm on all three items, actually, that are on the agenda.
Yeah, you can sit in the chair there, please.
Okay. The Chief Medical Officer report on all three items: medical, dental, nutritional, and sanitation, healthfulness, cleanliness, and safety.
Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Mercedes Maharis.
Okay.
I am a Nevada chaplain and a member of the Nevada Silver-Haired Legislative Forum, Senate District 3.
Great, go ahead.
What are the penalties for the failures reported that I showed you August 30th, 22? Meaning that the expired food was served recently, so table 1 is incorrect. The portions of food, is that enough? Are they enough? The no problems on the report. But we have a report that shows that a slice of cake is 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. I wonder if Mr. Duarte would have escaped if he had had a blueberry muffin once in a while, a full size one. What I think needs to happen is that to calm anger and hunger, we need to have a person reporting at each institution, maybe 2, keeping a record of the actual amounts of food that are being served. I don't think that one inspection, one time a year is enough. It's just sad. And an NDOC nutritionist told me years ago, we lay out the nutritional facts and everything, but when the cat's away, the mice play. So there doesn't seem to be any uniformity for food. Regarding 345 and 855, proposed changes, please strike offenders, an old negative term, and replace the terms with incarcerated individuals. Number 34503, this is required snitching, isn't it? By persons working together in NDOC, and it sets a mood of fear instead of cooperation and unity, I believe. And that is unhealthy in any of our social settings and systems. And I believe it's unacceptable. Please don't do this. Number 8, 8A on library services, total meltdown. The prisoners are not getting the information that they need from the local law libraries in their institutions.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll finish this at the end.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak during this first public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing no one, I'm going to close public comment. Item number 2, move on to item number 3, acceptance and approval of the August 30th, 2022 minutes. Do I have a motion? Move approval. A motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on. Item number 4, Chief Medical Officer report. Dr. Azam.
Good morning, Governor and esteemed members of the board. Good morning, everybody. Aizen Azam, State Chief Medical Officer, for the record. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Perfect, thank you. So you have a copy of our report, so I will briefly cover some important points. As required by the NRS, the Division of Public and Behavioral Health conducts regular inspections for state correctional facilities every year. These inspections include medical, dietary and sanitation, and nutritional adequacy inspections. This year we conducted 7 sanitary inspections. 23 violations were identified, which is 2 violations less than last year. However, it's important to note that one single facility had 7 violations out of the 23, 7 sanitary violations, and that facility is the Southern Desert Correctional Center. And also there were 5 facilities who had repeat sanitary violations. On the other hand, one correctional facility, which is the Florence McCleary Women's Correctional Center, had no any sanitary violations, which is great. Our medical inspections revealed 1 medical violation, and that was at the Southern Desert Correctional Center. It's important to say really that all violations were corrected during our inspections, and the few which couldn't be corrected were addressed by the prison correctional or the prison compliance officers. There were no nutritional adequacy violations identified during our inspection this year. We advised the Department of Corrections to continue with the enhanced infection control and prevention practices at all their facilities, and we recommended them to continue the COVID vaccination and also to use the bivalent booster for all eligible staff and inmates. And we recommended for those at higher risk for contracting monkeypox to receive the Jynneos pre-exposure prophylaxis vaccination against monkeypox. For further information, you do have our detailed report. With this, I'm concluding my remarks and will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zam. Do we have any questions from any of the board members for Dr. Zam? Secretary, anything?
No, thank you, Governor.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor, for your report.
Thank you.
Other than I know that they're having the same issues all of us are, and that's getting employees. And that is a big issue for all of us.
Certainly is, you're right. I'll move on to item number 5, Director's comments and departmental updates.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. Good morning, Governor Sisolak, Attorney General Ford, Secretary Sagaski. For the record, my name is Bill Gitter, recently named Acting Director for the Nevada Department of Corrections. The past few years, this quarter and especially this past month, have been the most challenging times that I can recall for more than 15 years with the department. Approximately 3 weeks ago at Southern Desert Correctional Center, the worst possible scenario in corrections happened. A dangerous offender escaped our custody and fled into the community. That breach was compounded by the fact that we were unaware of the escape for 3.5 days until another offender informed us. We initiated our emergency procedures and alerted local and state authorities the minute we learned of it, and then informed them again later that day when the escape was completely confirmed. Thanks to the quick response and efforts of a rapidly formed multi-jurisdictional task force, the escapee was taken back into custody by local authorities before he harmed others or fled out of state. From top to bottom, the department accepts responsibility for and truly regrets the security breaches that allowed the escape from our custody. The entire incident is under investigation by the department's Inspector General's office. To protect the integrity of that investigation and the rights of those who may be involved, we cannot comment on the specifics of the investigation at this time. Currently, there is new leadership of the department, and 8 officers are on paid administrative leave pending the outcome of that investigation. Per your order, Governor, the completed investigation and a management assessment of the root contributing factors will be submitted to your office for review. The department's vision has always been on keeping Nevada safe. But our emphasis shouldn't be on making Nevada safe tomorrow. It should be on keeping the public safe today. To that end, we have initiated an immediate return to security basics plan. We are now practicing more than a dozen new security-related measures, inspections, and controls at Southern Desert Correctional Center, as well as several common measures, inspections, and controls at all institutions and facilities across the state. Those measures will ensure that they are all secure and safely operating, considering the personnel we have left, the activities that we can realistically support, and the current condition of our physical security barriers. Until staffing can be substantially improved, some lower priority offender programs have been and will continue to be modified in favor of maintaining security and ensuring safe operation while we continue to fully support the highest priority and most important offender programs like offender visitation and prison industries, among a few others. Moving forward, we are resolved to working more closely with our union leaders, civil rights organizations, and offender advocacy groups to establish a more responsive and transparent agency. Our most recent meeting with two of those groups occurred this past Friday. We may not always agree, but the department will listen and cooperate where we can find reasonable common ground that doesn't compromise either safety or security, given the resources that we currently have at our command. Chief Kimberly Smith will now briefly address the status of our human resources.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Kimberly Smith, Chief of Human Resources. Today, I will be reporting on the vacancy rates for the department. Previously, at our last VOPC, while not verbally presented, NDOC internally reported the department's authorization to fill 2,936 positions. NDOC's total non-custody vacancy rate at that time equated to 288 openings, or 27.12% vacancy rate. Our total custody vacancy rate for the reporting period was 517 openings, or a 30.47% vacancy rate. Overall, NDOC had 859 vacancies, or a 29.26% vacancy rate. That was last quarter, Governor. Please note that this number looks significantly different in comparison to what is currently reflected. To date, NDOC has 884 vacancies, which parallels to a 30.09% vacancy rate. If described by classification, the vacancy reads as follows. Our correctional officer's vacancy rate is 34%. Our senior correctional officer's vacancy rate is 25.41%. Our sergeant's vacancy rate is 3.57%. Our lieutenant's vacancy rate is 10.34% vacancy. And lastly, our non-uniform staff or green level staff vacancy rate is 28.41%. In summary, Governor, we have a net loss of another 25 more vacancies than we had reported last quarter. The Nevada Department of Corrections remains forward-thinking and essential in our back-to-basics, safety-first attitude as we continue to do everything that we can with what we have. Now, our newly selected Acting Deputy Director of Operations, Calvin Johnson, will briefly make some additional comments and remarks regarding the status of our operations.
For the record, my name is Calvin Johnson, Acting Deputy Director of Operations. Due to the escape at Southern Desert Correction Center, all towers at that location are being staffed around the clock in addition to roving perimeter vehicles on all shifts. We recently met with State Public Works to discuss the perimeter fence line at Southern Desert Correction Center to find a funding source and quote/cost to bring to the perimeter fence line to standard. Additional towers at the remaining NDOC facilities are being staffed during the hours of darkness. Some institutions are staffing their towers during the day to improve security 24/7. As the board directed at the last meeting, the department is still working with our stakeholders on the development of AR 750, Offender General Correspondence and Mail. Deputy Director Brian Williams will now briefly address the status of our offender programs.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Brian E. Williams, Sr., Deputy Director of Programs. The Programs Division is pleased to announce that the majority of our programs are operational. However, due to critical staff vacancies throughout the state, some services are limited. To counteract staffing challenges, the Program Division will utilize virtual learning to provide services throughout the state to impact more offenders in both our major facilities and camps. Regardless of the challenges our department faces, we will continue to make every effort to ensure offenders have the necessary skills and abilities to achieve success upon release. The department will remain focused on accomplishing our mission as we strive for a safer Nevada. Dr. David Rivas, our newly selected Acting Medical Director, will now briefly address the status of our medical services.
Good morning, all. My name is, for the record, Dr. David Rivas, Acting Medical Director. As of October 10, 2022, the medical department vacancy rate is at 32%, with 208 filled positions and 98 vacant positions. The medical department is utilizing telemedicine and contracted medical staff to assist due to the lack of staffing, especially in our rural institutions. Despite being understaffed, the medical department made close to 36,000 patient contacts in the third quarter of 2022. And we currently have 1,042 offenders with chronic care diseases. We have managed close to 631,000 prescriptions this quarter. And now I'll turn the word to Dr. David Green, who will briefly address the status of our mental health services.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Dr. David Green, Mental Health Director. The Mental Health Department is currently composed of 42 staff members. Of these 42 employees, 3 are out on extended medical leave. Our vacancy rate is 37%. Since January 1st, 2022, having a total of approximately 10,000 offenders, there have been approximately 54,000 services provided to offenders from the mental health staff. Of these, 857 centered around our suicide prevention program. 483 were in response to offenders in crisis. Approximately 4,700 visits to offenders in restricted housing, and nearly 10,500 mental health care contacts with those offenders suffering with acute or chronic mental health needs. This past Thursday, the NDOC met with the Department of Health and Human Services to discuss ways to improve our medical, nursing, and mental health services. The conversation proved fruitful. DHHS offers many innovative ideas regarding the hiring, retention, and training of medical and mental health professionals. In the future, DHHS agreed to partner with the NDOC to create a larger footprint as both agencies seek additional resources from the legislature to meet the challenges of each agency. Deputy Director Lisa Lucas will now briefly address the status of support services.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Lisa Lucas, Deputy Director of Support Services. Starting off into the second quarter of the fiscal year, all budgets are on track with routine guidance from the Governor's Finance Office. The new Aramark food service contract, which went into effect July 1st, 2022, has had some challenges, and we are working through them with Aramark. We recently worked with the state enterprise IT systems to increase our bandwidth by 1.5 times. This will help with day-to-day operations, as well as programs, education, telemed, and court and attorney access. Deputy Director Bill Cuenca will now briefly address the status of prison industries and the Public Information Office. Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Bill Cuenca, Deputy Director of Prison Industries and Acting Public Information Officer for the department. Our biggest challenge across prison industries is inflationary pressures from the outside that are driving up the cost of raw materials, which then increases our cost of production. It has also been a challenge finding good quality industry staff. However, the staff we currently have employed are second to none and have really stepped up in these tough times. At the ranch, our relationship with BLM remains positive, and they are looking at long-term joint projects. Wages for offenders at the ranch have increased 12% year over year, and cattle and milk prices have been on the rise. Effective communication with our customers, including the state agencies, remains a strength and an asset. Excuse me. The Public Information Office has received a high volume of requests from media and for public information. The Governor's Office has been helpful in advising us, and State Police has offered guidance as well. We are being proactive in sending out press releases to be transparent with the media, public, and our stakeholders, and to ensure the information distributed is accurate. I'd like to turn this over to Inspector General James Jones, who will now briefly address the status of the IG's office. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. For the record, my name is James Jones, Inspector General. For calendar year 22, January to September, the Office of the Inspector General investigated several hundred criminal, compliance enforcement, internal affairs administrative cases, and preliminary inquiries. Inspector General staff are also instrumental to the department's training division, assisting with academies as well as institutions. While maintaining full caseloads, investigators also assist outside law enforcement agencies where there is a nexus to corrections. The Office of the Inspector General is currently investigating the circumstances that led up to the recent escape at Southern Desert Correctional Center.
That concludes our department updates, and we welcome any questions from the board.
Thank you, Director. Do we have any questions from the board members? Secretary Sagansky?
No, Governor, but yes, thank you. I would just like to thank Bill from Prison Industries for all the work that they've done over the years that I've been Secretary of State. And I know he's there today, so I just wanted to make sure that I said thank you for all the work they do. And people need to go and look and see what they do. And I think they do a great job in everything that they do. And I just want to thank everybody for giving my staff and myself the answers to our questions. So thank you very much. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. That's concluding the comments. We'll close item number 5. Move on to item number 6, regulations. You want to take these one at a time?
For the record, my name is Danielle Madsen, Executive Assistant to the Director of the NDOC. Today, we present 4 administrative regulations for discussion and possible action. I will provide a brief overview of changes made to each AR. However, we do have our subject matter experts available for questions as needed. These administrative regulations have all been revised to update terminology and verbiage to meet community, state, and national standards. All ARs have been updated to remove the word inmate and replace with the word offender, as we have done each quarter of this year. Administrative Regulation 143, Offender Access to Information Technology. We've added detail of permissible use of computer equipment by the offenders. This is for increased vocational and educational purposes only. Other minor changes for organization and clarity with no significant impact on regulation. Next, we have Administrative Regulation 345, Unauthorized Relationships. Minor changes for organization and clarity only with no significant impact on regulation. Administrative Regulation 840, Library Services. There was correction to grammatical errors to indicate an audit is not required for this AR, and no other major changes. Administrative Regulation 855, School District Employee Conduct. This was only for correction of grammatical errors. Governor, that includes our administrative regulation reviews for this meeting, and I would like to turn it back over to you for approval.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on any of the administrative regulation changes?
If I could,
Please.
I just want
General
to,
Ford.
thank you so much, Aaron Ford, for the record. I just want to ensure that AR 143 does not allow communication with individuals outside of the prison context for anything beyond educational, vocational training.
Yes, sir. Deputy Director Williams?
Yes, we did take that into consideration, and we're working with IT. We have a program review committee which reviews all programs coming into the department. Any program that's going to utilize the internet access, such as any of the school districts for vocational purposes or certification purposes, they will identify a URL, which is that address for that particular site only, and that's the only site that they'll have approval with. So we're drafting our operational procedure up with that, as well as working with the Information Technologies Department to ensure that they can't go to the dark side of the web and go places that they're not supposed to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Secretary Sagansky, any questions?
No, the prison industry or prison commission had my staff look at and review, and we did, and I want to thank you for the assistance.
Thank you. Same as me, they had a lot of very helpful in our briefing leading up to this meeting. Do I have a motion for the approval and acceptance of regulations AR 143, AR 345, AR 840, and AR 855?
All together?
Yeah, can we do them all together? Or you want me to do separately? We'll do them together, yeah.
Move approval of each of those.
So we have a motion for the approval of AR 143, AR 345, AR 840, and AR 855. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Close item number 6. Move on to item number 7, public comment. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item under the purview of this committee, please step forward, identify yourself for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes. I'll start up in Carson City. Do we have anybody for public comment?
Yes, Governor, I have one coming up now.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Denise Bolaños, DENISE As has been mentioned today, our goal should always be to keep Nevada safe, not only the community outside the walls across the state, but also incarcerated persons and staff, the people who spend the most time inside NDOC facilities. Keeping people safe also looks like not spending time inside consistently rodent-infested facilities, not making life for the incarcerated and their families even less affordable than it already is, putting the mental health of both incarcerated persons and staff excuse me, as high on the priority list as we should be as we put their physical well-being, and giving incarcerated individuals adequate and timely medical care. Let's make Nevada safe from the inside out. Looking forward to your re-election, Governor Sisolak and Attorney General Ford. Gracias.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, my name is Lisa Foley. I'm a former library director of Lake Tahoe Community College, and I was a Nevada resident for the past 30 years. I'm speaking as someone who helped establish in California prisons a community college education program. And as a librarian, I have heard from formerly incarcerated students who came to Lake Tahoe Community College about the value of print books in their incarcerated time period. I really applaud the advances you're making with internet access for vocational and educational programs. That's essential. But this has been a missed opportunity all these years of COVID and lockdown that it continues. If they put a book in an inmate's hand, it can transform lives. I've heard that from formerly incarcerated students who now are successfully productive. And as Kim Peterson said one day to me, one day these people who are incarcerated are going to be your neighbors, and we do want them to be literate, to be able to be inspired to start a career or go back to college. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Hi, Board. My name is Dr. Karen Gedney. I was the senior physician for the Department of Corrections for 30 years, and my comments will be to pertain to the medical department. I have also spoken to some of my staff who I worked with for many years, and more than anything, it has to do with the lack of staff. I will make the point that I was placed in the prison by the National Health Service Corps because the prisons in 1980s, when I started in 87, were, let's say, not staffed by medical. And I did my 4-year commitment payback to the National Health Service Corps, and for a variety of reasons, I stayed and turned it into a career that lasted 30 years. And what I would recommend is, I know the system is trying to work with DHHS, but the National Health Service Corps is oriented in our country to staff areas that are health manpower shortage, and I think every opportunity should be to access them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor, that's it for the North.
Thank you. I've got a stack of written public comment that I'm going to submit for the record that can be made part of the record, if we could. Thank you. In Las Vegas, we'll begin. Public comment, please.
Good morning. My name is Jody Hocking, the founder and director of Return Strong, and we are here today really just because at this moment, we feel like this is a really critical moment for Nevada. The resignation of Director Daniels gives us an opportunity to stop and look at how corrections is being done successfully, differently, safely in many other areas. One of the things that we're asking, and Governor Sisolak will be delivering a letter to you this week from organizations across the state, is for us to take a pause and listen to what we're calling the people's voice and give people an opportunity. There are corrections across the United States that are working with an organization called Amend. Amend follows and is working with corrections to actually implement Norway's way of doing corrections. And people have been very resistant to it across the country, but at the end of the day, what has happened is they've found that it actually successfully works to achieve public safety and humanely use incarceration, if that's what we're going to do, to get away from mass incarceration and the things that are going on now. My mom had a saying that she used to say, you can't heal a wound that you don't acknowledge. It concerns me that we were able, when this Department of Corrections has been like openly, publicly bleeding, that we're able to finish a meeting in 36 minutes so far. We went through both public comments. That are we really getting to the core of what the issues are? And even in corrections, when you look at Norway, their whole model is based on like being better neighbors. They take care of families. They make sure people come out whole and ready to be part of their communities. And people are using it. North Dakota is successfully using it. They have implemented it in their prisons, and it has created huge successes. What we're asking is to stop and pause and let's look at all of this. I also want to just take a minute and acknowledge the fact and know that we appreciate, obviously we've been very vocal for a couple of years, but part of that was because we didn't have another way to get eyes on what was going on in the prisons. And I want to say, I know my time's almost up, I do want to just give credit that after the AR policy, when we came last time, that sorry, I still am saying deputy director. I'm not used to saying acting director yet. Acting director Gitter reached out to us, and we had a meeting with Return Strong and staff and the ACLU. And was it perfect, and did we get to a resolution? Not yet. But did it open the door to communication, which from day one has been really what we've cried for, is communication, transparency, and accountability. The more we have communication and transparency, the less we have to focus on accountability. But right now, this is an opportunity to really use. And so that's why we're here in quiet today, is we're watching and we want to be part of this. We're not looking for, let's give incarcerated people drugs and we're not fighting for those things. We're fighting for, my daughter always says, two things can be true. You guys can want public safety and we can want humane treatment of people. And there is a middle ground, a sweet spot where we all want the same thing. And so, thank you.
Next speaker. Anybody else? Oh, okay.
Okay. I wanted to say I think that we do need an audit for library services because we are only subscribing to Western information. Eastern information is not there, and the prisoners cannot get it to study their cases when judges say, oh, this case is in the East. Well, they can't get it. Your 11 February 2021 agreement with the U.S. DOJ, in my opinion, is being disrespected. Why? Because the NDOC personnel do not know what the agreement is. And now it's going to federal court. As I said last time, all roads seem to lead to court. Persons with disabilities do deserve to have work credits per your agreement, which was very wise. Why are we housing as many as 700 individuals coming in from parole and probation because they have no new charges. How is that happening? Please audit the book review committee of their records and procedures. Is this really happening without oversight? And are they disposing of books that they don't like that are law books? Can disliked book selections actually cause prisoners to choose between books and food? Big problem. And food cannot be used as a weapon. It's just disgraceful. California just put in free phone calls for prisoners. I hope that we will do the same because it would be very wise. Inflation hitting families, friends, all of us is going to have to give some relief in that area. Mass incarceration is a failed social experiment, and we have to admit it and move forward in a much different direction. And I know that you have the great minds that will do that sooner, hopefully, than later. I think that all medical people who have been forced to wait a year, 14 months when they're bleeding, they should be sent on furlough so that they can get the medical care that they need that is not being provided. What a shame. Thank you for all you do to help others. I realize it's a huge job, but things have to change.
That's 3 minutes.
Thank you for your comments. Ed? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Christine Essex. I'm a resident of Las Vegas since 1968. I'm a concerned mother. I have a son who's incarcerated and medically he's not being taken care of. So I need to know, there's no communications happening between, I was his legal guardian and his caregiver for 6 years. And then when he was incarcerated, there was no communication, so I was unable to speak to him to know that he was okay. He has a loss of memory, he has a anoxic brain injury, he's an amputee, he doesn't have his leg. While he's incarcerated, he's in a wheelchair that is not set for him. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. There's a lot of medical issues, and no one is communicating with me. And I don't think I think that needs to be addressed or looked at or give me guidance. Anyone give me guidance. Because I was his voice, and now he doesn't have one. And I'm looking at the compassionate release, anything that I can do and help others from now forward. Because he has seizures, and he was 3 days without any medication when he was transferred from CCDC to High Desert. 3 days, no medication. He went through withdrawals, and he was on at least 8 in the morning and 8 in the night medications. So he went through a whole withdrawal thing. It was very bad. And then the excuse was there's not enough staff. There's problems. We have problems. All I got the entire time that I've been reaching out is we have problems. And I understand that. I am compassionate to that. But how do I help my son, or how do other parents help their individuals or their loved ones that are in there? How do we help them? So, I don't know. I'm brave to sit here before you today. And I'm very grateful that he's okay. He's now able to call me, but he wasn't able to call me for more than a month. And now he can call me. He figured out how to use the phone. And so I'm able to speak to him, and I can hear his voice, and I know that he's okay. He's doing his best, and I'm proud of him for that. So how do I take care of him? How do we help as caregivers, as family, as individuals, to help the ones who get locked up? He has no memory of any of the events. He has anoxic brain damage, so he has no memory from 2017 back for the crimes that he's serving time for. He doesn't have any memory of any of that. And I understand that's not enough to not incarcerate someone, but he took an Alford plea for the fact that he couldn't say he did or didn't do the things, which I thought was, he wanted to do the right thing. Over 900 days of home house arrest and over 80
You've reached 3 minutes.
court appearances. So we're compliant. We want him to do the right thing.
I just want to know if anybody here can help me. Let me know.
Thank you.
Christine Essex.
Anyone else wishing to speak during public comment?
My name is Vivian Jones. I have an incarcerated son. He's been incarcerated since he was 16. He's 36 now. 2 years ago, I tried to contact NDOC. I call him every day. Nothing happened. Now my son don't have his mind. He was hit in the head by an officer. He don't know who I am. He don't know who his children are. I might be all over the place. That's my only child. I can't go see him because I am an ex-felon over 20 years ago. They denied me 3 times. I haven't been even had a traffic ticket. My sister went and see my son at High Desert. He's ice cold, like 80, almost 80 pounds, if so. I sent letters, I sent everything. I heard from my son from inmates. He don't have 20 years he's been there. He don't have any of his belongings, nothing. Inmates, I don't know if they robbing his account, but he calling pre-con. My son don't know how to use the phone. My son don't know how to use the kiosk. And they took him to the infirmary and let him back out. The inmate said he doing the same thing. He just sit there, nothing. He won't even come home. We went from talking 2 times a week to packages twice a year. He had everything, you know. And now I'll talk to him on the phone. Inmates put him on the phone. He don't even know who I am. He don't even know who his children or nobody is. And I might sound like I'm repeating myself, but time after time after time, I left when my sister died. I left numerous of voice messages to his caseworker, never returned. To his chaplain, no return calls, no return calls for 2 years. I was trying to get justice for my son until Asha Jones had contacted somebody for me, and they pulled him in the infirmary and let him right back out. And the inmate said he doing the same thing, just sitting there, don't not even use the phone. So I went from talking to my son to nothing, and I just need to know if I can get him to come home. You know, if he's in there with inmates that's highly functioned, you know what I'm saying? Who knows if my son not being tossed around up in there or sodomized or, you know what I'm saying? And there's no voice. It used to say you have a collect call from Tyrone Williams. And then it goes to you have a prepaid call. So they said he don't even know how to walk to the kiosk to use the kiosk. He don't even know how to use the phone. So I'm just asking, like, what can I do to get custody of my son to where at least somebody can help him use the phone other than inmates? Because I'm sure his books are depleted. Because if you walk him to the kiosk, you can see his account. You know what I'm saying? Where's my son's stuff? 20 years, nothing. They say he in there with nothing. I don't know what happened. I don't know why.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Melissa Duna. Good morning, Board of Commissioners, Mr. Governor, Attorney General, and everybody here today. I feel very hurt for the families, and they need a voice. We've reached out to so many people, and there's no answer. The best quote that I can say in 2 minutes is a quote that a news person said on October 2nd. And she's sitting here, Vanessa Murphy. I'm going to quote you. You said, dysfunction inside the prison system is nothing new. But these are things that have been trying to sound alarm by prison staff, inmates, and their families. Some have predicted these things would happen. Now, I know things can't change overnight. And I know some things are circumstantial. But I know one thing, that people are afraid. People don't have a voice. That is the constitutional right. Please help us. If the wrongdoing is there, then let's fix it. Let's not be a laughing state. Let's not be mocked that we can't run our prisons or that our families have to suffer not knowing if their loved one is eating or being harmed. This needs to be stopped. Please help. We need the circle to end. We need us to work together. I have my own issues, but I can put them aside to work with others to help. I'm not here to fight with you. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here for help. And I don't need 2 minutes. I need one question answered. Help. Last time I apologized when I sat before you. I was an emotional wreck. And I'm not going to be that today. I am done being scared. And I am done feeling hurt. Look around this room. Look at all these families. Look at the mothers that are suffering. We're suffering. Your staff is suffering. That's why they're leaving. There's good and bad in everyone. But it needs to stop. I'm sick and I'm tired and I'm at my end. But I'm not at my end for everyone here to join together.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Thank you. Here's my letter. My contact information is here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Members of the board, Governor Sisolak, Mayor Board. For the record, my name is Jeanette Salon. I'm a psychiatric nurse here in the state of Nevada. I see a lot of pain. I see a lot of suffering in the room. I'm hearing everything going on. My story is that I have been involved with my new husband, who has been in my life for 30 years. He has been incarcerated for 29 years. I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen it go from okay to good to bad. I've seen a lot of ups and downs. I really encourage you to look into amend because mental health is very important here. There's a lot of trauma that goes on with being incarcerated, and I get it. It's a safety issue. I work with people all day long. A lot of my clients are ex-offenders out on parole trying to get their mental health services any way they can. I try to help them. I try to help families. There's so many things that are struggling because families do not know how to interact with each other. We don't have programs in place for people right now, and I get it because there is a staffing issue. The state is losing their staff. We can't retain them. We can't attract them. And it's sad, just like Dr. Gedney said, there are programs in place. We have 2 medical schools. Why are we not giving our offenders health care and mental health care with our learning doctors? It will teach them humility. It will teach them how to care for other people, different people. It'll teach them cultural competency. I mean, we all have to learn. We all need care. And the only way to solve this is to get the mental health back in order. And I just encourage you to start looking into that because we need to keep our staff safe. I work for the state. I work with forensic people. We need to be safe. Our offenders need to be safe. Our families need to be safe. And we cannot do that if we do not start focusing on the mental health care because we cannot have good neighbors if we keep on causing more trauma. It's just not going to happen. There's people that we can't even restore to competency. What do we do with them? There is no place to keep them anymore. Lakes Crossing is full. Stein is full. Now you're dumping out on the streets. There's no group homes that will take these people. We cannot keep this up. And so I just encourage you to start looking into different models. I mean, try the amend thing. I mean, all we can do is try. You know, because mental health is important. It's important for you guys. It's important for these families. It's important for our offenders.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Good morning. Governor, Attorney General, Committee. My name is James Allen Jr. And what you're looking at is a former product of the Nevada Correctional Center. I'm not here to bash the Nevada correctional system because I'm a product of it for 30 years. I'm a former death row inmate. And if I tell you we don't need to change administrations in midstream, this administration can get the job done. There's guys just like me, look like me, talk like me, out here in the various communities. The boots are on the ground. You just don't hear about us because we're not shaking hands with everybody, but we're getting the job done. We're mentors. We're pillars of our community, where we come from. It's people sitting at this table know that there's a generation of guys like me that made it through this system. We're businessmen. We're educators. We're fathers. We're grandfathers. We're out here. I feel the pain of these mothers. I came out into a situation after 30 years, and after 4 years of sitting on death row, I came out to a mother that's in dementia. That's how I spend my week. And I'm learning about it. So I understand about the mental health. I understand about the problems that we're having, the issues. Allow us. We are a group of men that humbly, proudly call ourselves the Lifers Group. And we're on parole. We're following the rules. Allow us to help. Allow us to come back. We're able. We're out here. Talk to us. We have some type of solution because this system helped me. I'm not the most educated man, but I know wrong from right. And I know our education system is falling in the hands of the prison system. And it's horrible what's going on. I stay in contact through the underground. We know what's going on inside the prison walls. Allow us to go in. Let us be mentors. Because those same young men that you're putting away for years, guess what? When you parole them, guess where they coming? Back to the community. Just as dumb, just as ignorant. They need mentors. I had a mentor coming off of death row. This is why I'm not tatted up. I'm not pierced up. I can sit in the room. If I don't tell you where I've been.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Were you getting up to speak?
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Williams. I was formerly incarcerated. I just got released in March. I went in as a juvenile offender at 16 years old, and I did 23 years. That was a journey. I've been to every institution in the state of Nevada. Did several years at each institution. And there is, going in as a juvenile, there was a lot of things I wasn't able to accomplish as a juvenile. When I tried to further my education, there was a no hardback book rule that was in place that prevented me from going to college. The environment of corrections is, for a juvenile, it's not something that we want to continue. It's easy to put someone else's child in prison. But think of it as if it was your own child. You want your child, despite the fact that your child is incarcerated, you would want your child to have access to education. You would want your child to have access to medical care. You would want your child to have access to staff and counselors, caseworkers who are there to help that person be rehabilitated so that they can leave a better person than they were when they came in. When I originally was arrested, I made that commitment to myself that I was going to leave prison a better person than I was when I went in. But I ran into a lot of walls. A lot of walls. And standing up for my rights, I was assaulted by staff. I was moved from institution to institution. That's one of the reasons why I've been to every institution in the system. I would file a grievance, and next thing I know, I'm getting rolled up and shipped to another institution. I was not able to stand up for my rights and ask for things that were beneficial, not only to myself, but beneficial to my future, and ultimately beneficial to other prisoners. These are the things that just small things. What we're asking you guys here for today is change. We need an administration like yours, an administration of people who are committed to making things better for prisoners. Because remember, a lot of us are returning to society.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Do you want us returning to society with the same skills that got us put in prison? Or do you want us to return to society with the skills that we can use to ultimately benefit society? That being said, I really would like, because I work for prison industries, and I think prison industries.
I can ask you to wrap it up.
Okay, I think prison industries is a very important factor for rehabilitation. NDOC is on the right track with that, but we need more programs. We need programs that allow inmates to get their CDLs and things like that when they get out, things that they can actually use when they return to society.
John.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Good morning, Governor. Good morning, board members, and all the families of the incarcerated. Press.
Your name, please.
My name is Rita Dixit-Kubiak.
If I could ask you to speak up, because I'm having trouble hearing you.
I don't have a very loud voice, but I have a voice.
Okay.
It is a voice of prayer. In the voice of prayer, I pray that institutions that work with all manner of human beings, that the first thing that they do is do good and do no harm. I think the do good, do no harm actually comes from a Christian culture at thought. The do no harm. And I think that over here there have been a few people that have talked about the Norwegian system, the Norwegian system of prison management, where they have actually succeeded in lowering recidivism rates. And how have they done it? They have brought together in an arc the health and the mental condition of the people who work with the incarcerated, and the mental health and the complete physical health of prisoners. They can actually, prisoners and guards can actually talk with each other as human beings. We are all human beings. Each one of us is that. Before we become governors, before we become commissioners, before we become medical officers, we are just simply human beings. And I hope in a country that are followers of
Christ, and so many other religions, the Buddha, that today as we listen to so many voices here, there is pain here. When there is pain, we have to look at the pain. We have to look at the pain. And we have to know that we have to create good neighbors. It is in your hands. Good neighbors who are officers, good neighbors who are inmates, who may be in prison for the right reason, or they may be also wrongly convicted. These are all the possibilities. This is the entire art. So I won't take your time. I will just say a prayer and leave you at the good prayer.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Thank you for your time. Okay, anybody else? Seeing no one. We have no one else left in Carson City?
No, Governor.
Okay, then I'm going to close the second public comment section, item number 7. Move on to item number 8, adjourned. We are adjourned, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.